What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined today by my man John out of John Yates out of your Falcon Mind was nice enough to jump on with me tonight. Um, as you can see, obviously it's a different John, not John Boy, but John Boy is doing the correct thing and taking his wife out for Valentine's dinner. Now, you might ask yourself, JR, why are you not taking your wife out for Valentine's dinner? That's because, we've been together for 15, married for 13, and nowadays we tend to do the Valentine's Day thing before Valentine's or after Valentine's, and it's just not as a big of a thing for us. So, my wife gave her blessing, so to speak, for me to be doing this tonight. So, John, why are you able to do this tonight?
Well, very similar reason, buddy. We're at 21 years married, and she's actually out running right now with my kid. They're out running a couple of miles. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump on my boy here and have some fun, talk some Falcons, and yeah, that's about it.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's
man.
like it seems like you hit a point, right, where like you don't fall into the capitalism trap as easily as others, right? And some are different than others. Like the one that I kind of rebel against, but not necessarily is the whole Father's Day, Mother's Day thing.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's like, look, the kid can make something,
Hmm.
make a craft, whatever, hang it on the wall, put it on the refrigerator. But me, buying her something or her buying me something, I don't know. That's the one that's always kind of messed with me a little bit.
Yeah, no, if I went out and spent like hundreds of dollars on roses right now, as opposed to spending like 30 in a couple of weeks from now, then my wife would be super pissed at me. Like, what are you doing? Like, just
Right,
wait a week
right.
or two and get, like appreciate it, but not
And
not necessary.
I've always been the guy who would much rather just randomly bring flowers or
Yeah,
randomly show up with something
I think
instead
that
of
means
showing
more,
up
man.
on a like pre-prescribed day, like, oh, you have to on this day
Yep.
or you don't love me. No, that is bunk. It's easy to show up on the day that you have to. It's much more impressive. So there's a tip for any of you guys out there.
Big tip.
Just randomly show up
Big tip.
with some flowers. Uh, your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other or whoever will definitely appreciate that. But as you alluded to, we are definitely going to be talking about some football. So I guess without further ado, John, let's just get
Hmm.
into it.
Let's do it.
Well, as most of us saw on Sunday, we had Super Bowl 57 took place, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I thought it was a pretty good fun game. It
Did
was
too.
uh it was entertaining as far as like not having any dog in the fight per se. Like it didn't bother me one way or the other what team won. Like you had the idea that if the Eagles won, then you would finally have uh a predominantly running quarterback win the Super Bowl. And then if the Chiefs won, you'd have had the MVP win the Super Bowl for the first time in like 10 years or whatever it was,
Hmm.
and a top five paid quarterback. Because that's always the thing, right? Can't win the Super Bowl once you pay the quarterback.
Yep.
Okay. So one of those two things was going to break. And it just so happened to be in all too familiar fashion, the Chiefs come roaring back after a 10-point deficit and, end up winning the game. What were your like 30,000 foot view, like opinion on the Super Bowl?
I thought it was a great game, man, until the last 2 minutes. I mean, I know that call. We'll talk about it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, of course, but I mean, yeah, you hate to see it in that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would
Right.
have rather it just, I get it. Like, Bradbury admitted that he held him, and yeah, he did. But like, I don't know. Like, if I'm if I'm the NFL, like I tell the refs, like, hey, man, those last 2 minutes, unless it's just egregious as hell, man, you swallow that whistle, let
Right.
him play. But I get it. I'm not gonna. It's not. That's not the reason they lost all. I mean,
No.
there's not at all. But I just overall, I hated the way it ended like that. I just wish it was more, because they probably would have had to kick a field goal, and then Philly would have had at least enough time to make a drive, make an attempt at it. So
Yeah, make a concerted effort,
exactly.
to get down there. And no, and I
Mm-hmm.
agree that I'm not a huge fan of the refs, like, you know, deciding the game. But if we're real about it, and if we stop for just a few minutes and think about the entire game as a whole, like the defensive collapse in the second half is what I mean, because like that's what I like. I had we had some friends over at the house to watch the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the friends that we had over weren't like diehard football fans. They were just coming over to hang out, right? And so we went into halftime, and the guy was like, "Oh man, the Eagles are just like they're revving up and all this." I'm like, "Yeah, they're doing really good." I said, "But let's see what the punch and counter punch is." I said, all too many times I have seen a team, go into halftime leading,
Mm-hmm.
and just to lose the game.
Yep.
And because their coaches didn't pick up on a tendency, or, weren't able to exploit a weakness, right? And so that's that's what the Chiefs did. That's what Andy Reid and the offense did. They saw how the Eagles were responding to the fly motions and just figured out how to exploit them.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I think, I mean, as good a game as Jalen played, and he played a fantastic game. That I just had a feeling that fumble and that the for a touch was going to come back one way or the other. I was like, damn, I don't know, that might come back and bite him some way, shape, or form, even though it didn't
Yeah,
look like it in the first half. But then, like you said, man, the second half, that obviously ended up being a deciding factor in the game as well. So
exactly, exactly. Woon, I see you there, brother. We appreciate the $2 tip. Like I said, I don't have my little
salute.
air horn thing anymore, but well, he says, rise up and let the off season begin. That's exactly right. The off season is now like squarely in the view, and we're definitely going to be talking about that here in just a little bit. But to kind of stay on the Super Bowl thing for a little bit longer, you're right. Like the Jalen Hurts fumble was like a huge opportunity that allowed the Chiefs to stay in it. And
Hmm.
then in the second half, you had the kickoff return or the
Yep.
punt return.
Yep.
What was it, like 65 yards or something like that? Got down to the
Hmm.
5 yard line. So
Then Mahomes scramble too was huge.
yes,
I mean,
like those plays, like, and that's not even accounting for the schematic shift that had like two walk in untouched, touchdowns.
yeah,
But
they just got out. They just Andy and Bieniemy just outcoached them, man. Just
yep,
outcoached that. And maybe they smelled themselves a little bit coming in, like, hey, we had 70 sacks, and we're just going to go in here and run shot y'all offensive line. But I mean, the offensive line for KC, I was listening to 680 here in Atlanta today, and they had Sal Palantonio on. And he said he went up to one of the linemen after the game, and he was like, "Dude, he's like, we had a chip on our shoulder, 100%." He's like, we heard all these last 2 weeks is how good that defensive line is, how good that front is, how much they're going to get after Pat. He's like, and so we made it a point. We're like, no, y'all ain't getting after Pat,
that's it,
and
right?
they stepped it up, man, without a doubt.
Nick put it up even before the show started. Chiefs O line allowed 0 sacks.
Yeah, I
Like,
told my kid, I said, man, I said, I know they're going to give it to one guy, they're going to give it to Pat, but that O line was MVP
oh,
for me,
dude,
man.
that O line definitely earned it. And then Pacheco,
Whew, yeah,
like, dude, like there was a handful of
he runs
just
so mad,
dude, just
so angry.
angry. I love angry runners.
I do too, man.
Like that. Those are definitely my favorite kind. Let's see. Jeremy says, "Well, no, you can't blame the refs for the Eagles losing. They had
Not at all.
a number one sack team, and they didn't get any pressure or sacks on Mahomes. The Eagles' offense is surrounded by the run game. Yes, like what you look at there is in a way what you can almost be worrisome if you're looking at the Falcons. And
Hmm.
the reason why I say that is because you have Arthur Smith who wants to play a ball control offense, and an aggressive defense. Basically, what you just saw from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem with that is when you do run into a quick strike team like the Chiefs, who could there was a perfect example of it. I think it was like the Eagles' first drive. It was like a 7-minute drive or something, like 7 or 8 minute drive. They get down there, cap it off with a touchdown. And you're like, holy Pete, they just about ate up the first quarter. And then the Eagles get the ball, and in like 2 plays, they scored.
Yep.
And so, that's where you got to be, somewhat concerned about the way your offense is constructed.
Yeah, and if you're going to play that way, and I mean, it's you. I mean, it looked. I mean, as the game started and as it was going in the second quarter, that like, okay, this is going to be a recipe for success because if they can run this much time off the clock and keep Pat off the field, then obviously his possessions are going to be limited. So, and if their offense kept doing what they were doing, then yeah, Eagles are going to win this game going away. But I mean, Pat? I think they had 15 first downs. The Chiefs did in the second half.
Yep.
And like every possession they had was just whoop whoop. I mean, like
just marched it right down the field into
right down their throats, man.
Yeah,
and I'm definitely not definitely not blaming the ref. I just hate that that's the way that it, you know what I mean? Like that call was made.
Yes.
Just, he didn't lose the game, or the ref didn't lose the game at all for the Eagles. But I just, like I said, I just would have rather seen it not happen that way. So.
Yeah, you'd rather, but you can even hat tip to Jerick McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles were trying to let him walk into the end zone.
Sure was.
And he was smart enough to get down, not pull a Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
And
yep.
And get down and run even more. And then even with, Mahomes spiking it to set up the kick, he held that ball and danced around as long as he could. So they did it smart, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason because both let's see, I saw it earlier. Somebody put it up there about the Eagles have now lost both of their OC and their DC.
Yep.
So their OC went to Indianapolis to be their head coach, and Gannon went to Arizona to be their head coach. So let's see. Bubblegum saying, "Are we going to ignore Eagles O-line going early during the first?" Okay, now I was going to get into that. Yeah, I was going to get we talk about the refs making the call that went against the Eagles. It was what Landon Johnson. I think it was on like a third down. That joker got into his kick step well before that ball was snapped.
Oh yeah.
Well before that ball was snapped.
There's so many calls that could have went either way. I mean, that should have been called or should not have been called. I mean, it's, but hey, but Goodell says it was the best ref league year of the NFL. So I mean,
yeah, of course he's gonna say that. What else is he supposed to say? I don't know, dude.
A little off the subject, but you saw the video, right, of him hugging Chris Jones and everything. Did you see that today? So he's hugging Chris Jones after the game. Goodell is, and everybody was freaking out yesterday, saying that, oh, this is proof it's rigged, blah blah blah. But that's whatever. He hugs all the players or some of the players, whatever. But what he said to Chris in his ear was, "I don't care how you hit the quarterback."
Oh snap!
Yeah,
okay.
And the audio caught it. We're like, oh, well, that's good to know.
That is good to know. It's very good to know.
He got fined earlier in the year for it. So
yeah. Willie Doc, we appreciate the $10. We're about to get into Willie Doc. The segment of Ballers Fallers is definitely brought to you by Willie Doc. He says his baller is Mahomes. The faller is the field turf. Honorable mentions: Hurts played a solid game. Chiefs run game and special teams look solid. In-game adjustments by Chiefs coaching staff. Yeah, dude. Let's since Willie went ahead and sponsored it, we'll go ahead and jump into our ballers and fallers. Let's see here. I'm going to hit that button. Bam. Okay. So our baller and faller this week, like I said before, is brought to you by Willie Doc, our good man. And the baller it's a twofer. It is Patrick Mahomes, obviously, because dude was out there playing on basically one leg again.
Yeah,
And
it looked like he got hurt again during the game.
yeah,
So I mean,
and then, but not to be shortchanged, uh, Jalen Hurts played a historic game. I don't know if that feedback ain't coming through on your end, is it?
feedback. No, I hear a little bit of
Okay,
just a little bit of a, but
okay.
nothing like bad. Yeah.
Long as it ain't, I don't know what's causing it, but whatever. Anyway, I'm just gonna keep. It'll stop eventually. So, like Jalen Hurts played. I think he was rushed for three and threw for one touchdown. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a Super Bowl. So like you couldn't have asked outside of the fumble.
Yep.
Outside of that fumble, there wasn't too much that you could have asked. Jalen Hurts to do for you.
Yeah. He's not afraid of the moment, man. It was not too big for him at all.
No, and even after that fumble, he looked calm. He looked collected. I loved his like podium presence after
Yep.
the game, answering questions. Talking to anybody and everybody. He put himself together very well, and definitely should be the face of the Eagles for years to come.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, some of y'all know I'm a Bama fan, so I mean, obviously, I was a huge fan of him at Alabama and the way he handled himself when he got benched and then he came back and the way he performed then and then got his degree, went off to Oklahoma, did well there. I mean, just a good dude, man. Great in the community. Just, I mean, I hate the Eagles. I don't like anything Philadelphia, so it was killing me to actually even root for. You got Devonta on there and Landon too as well. And I mean, like, so I was kind of rooting for them just because of Jalen. So about I don't really care which way or the other, but I mean, it did. I mean, like, just to see him how he, like you said, how he handled himself, man, just great. You can't. I mean, as a Philly fan, you got to be pretty happy about
Oh
him
yeah,
being
like
your
I
quarterback.
know, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think the vast majority of y'all, know where I stand and where I lie on the, belief system and religious aspect. But to have him, sitting up there, talking about God and quoting scripture, like from the Super Bowl podium, like had a different, especially in this day and age, had a gave me personally a different level of respect for Jalen Hurts, and I was like, all right, you know what? Up to that point, I don't tend to root for the NFC South or the NFC team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tend to root for any of them, but in my
Right.
mind, I'm like, I don't want a team from our conference winning the Super Bowl. I'd much rather be able, I'd much rather say, uh, it's the AFC. That's the other side. Da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
They're the enemy, so to speak. But I don't want to see, an NFC team prosper that isn't the Falcons. And so, but after hearing, like I said, the way he composed himself, all during the week, and then after the game, I was like, okay, I got definitely a new level of respect for Jalen Hurts, if nothing else.
100%.
Uh, then of course Mahomes like balled out, absolutely, uh, played the game he had to play, and just absolutely balled out and showed up big in the second half. Showed why he right now and for probably the foreseeable future is the best quarterback in the league. So he's the new Brady. He's the new watermark in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
So it takes us to our fallers, and our fallers is that vaunted Philadelphia defense. Like it is the defense that was getting after everybody all season long. I tried to find a picture that was, a lot of the defensive line because that's what you were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You were expecting Mahomes to be hobbled and him to be like easy pickings. But you're right, they never did get to him.
No,
Like
they hurt him a few times, but he scrambled out of it, got out, and so
exactly. And so then, with that and obviously, James Bradbury with the with the hold
mm-hmm.
and just not being able to pick up on your or being able to break your own tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was Jonathan Gannon, which is something he's going to have to mentally live with now that he's in Arizona. Uh, but the fact that you had guys in the second half walking in for wide open touchdowns. That was just that's yeah, that's no good. That's
No,
no
not
good.
at all.
So, anything you have to add to that before we move on?
No, you hit it, man. You nailed it. I do think Willie Doc was 100% right there on that field, man. How you going to spend $800,000 on some grass that
Everybody's
not
slipping
even
on.
everybody's slipping on? I mean, the kicker almost turned his ankle, man. Just his plant foot almost went horizontal, man. You can't have that in the Super Bowl, man. You can't shouldn't have it in regular season, much less the Super Bowl. I mean, that's insane.
And if you're going to go through all that stakes to make sure it's new grass or good grass or whatever,
Special grown grass, and
right,
I mean, come
special
on,
grown
man.
grass, then yeah, it just makes you look silly.
Yeah,
I'd be remiss if I didn't add my wife's faller. Her faller was the commercials. She said the
yeah, they weren't
commercials
great. Yeah.
weren't very good. She said even like outside of that 2B commercial that got everybody freaked out
Hmm.
and ticked off, she said, but even that one, like that's not the kind of reaction you want.
Nah, I didn't mind. I mean, the Ben Affleck one, Dunkin' Donuts was okay.
Yeah.
The T-Mobile one with dude from I can't remember his name. The actor, him and his mom. I can't remember his name. Anyway, yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, the overall it was kind of
Yeah, they
disappointing.
they were pretty forgettable
Yeah,
in a lot of aspects. And um
Bradley Cooper. There we go.
yeah, that's what it was. And the halftime show, like yeah, it was the hits, it was the songs you wanted to hear from Rihanna, but she didn't have nobody come out. And I'm not trying to like knock on her,
Yeah.
but that's kind of like what you're sitting there watching, like, all right, who's gonna pop up?
Hmm.
And nobody popped up. And so I was like, okay. So all in all, yeah, like there was a lot of like lackluster aspects to it, but all in all, I think it was a good Super Bowl. It was a good cap to the season. I think the biggest I should have put a baller. I should have put the Kelsey mom.
Yeah.
Like she was probably the biggest winner.
Hmm.
She became like America's mom for that
Yeah,
week.
100%. I couldn't even imagine, dude. That'd be something else. I
I
mean,
saw a
you'd
video
be so
where
torn.
yeah, like I saw a video. Of course, she's wearing a split jersey, and uh, like you see her like go up and like hugging Travis and
Yeah.
patting him and being excited for him, and then like 5 seconds later or whatever, like 5 seconds in the video, who knows?
Hmm.
Like you see her with Jason crying, it's like, man, that's
It
like
was cool though. You heard Jason. He was like, go celebrate with Trav. Like
right,
it was.
exactly.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they've especially with I don't listen to their podcast, but I've seen like a bunch of clips from it.
Travis's
Uh,
next step is WWE.
that's
Everything he
gotta be.
says after this is a WWE promo. Everything. Like at the end there, like who it's about who's doubting. Like who doubted you guys? Like nobody doubted you
Yeah,
guys.
like
Like
what
the
nobody's
freaking
telling y'all.
Chiefs. You lost 2 games all season. Like what are you talking about?
Exactly. Like maybe at the very beginning we were wondering
Yeah, sure.
like or is the offense going to take a
Yeah,
step
yeah.
back?
With no
But
Tyreek and all that. Yeah.
by week 4 we're like, whatever, okay, obviously it doesn't matter who they have out
Hmm.
there. You could
Exactly.
throw it to, TikTok Juju Smith-Schuster and
Yeah.
be fine. Uh, King 7 says, I think she was more sad for Jason's loss than Travis's win. Well, because it could also potentially be like that could be Jason's last game. You
Yeah.
know, he's been mulling retirement,
Hmm.
so um, which I guess kind of leads us into the like football's done in a sense. So now it's the off season. Like it's fully the off season, right?
Oh yeah.
So
We're here now.
yeah, exactly, right? We're here now. So we have tomorrow makes exactly 1 month until free agency. So for the next month, we get to talk about uh, who should we bring in, who should we bring back, who should we extend, these kind of things. And the first stop on that trip, the first stop on that train is like who do you bring back? Like I don't get to talk to you every week.
Yeah.
So I'm really gonna like be almost turning the floor over to you. Like out of our free agents, knowing now that we have the DC in place,
Hmm.
you got a kind of an idea of what he wants to run, like given his history. Like who's your like priority free agent that's on the Falcons roster that needs to be brought back?
The priority one on defense. we'll start
It don't have
there.
to be on defense. I was
Yeah,
just
okay.
teeing
Well,
it up,
yeah, I
but
mean,
like whatever
yeah,
on that.
yeah, I mean, I think Carter's coming back. I think it's a guy you bring back is because he stayed healthy all year long. He's really good in the run game. Got some pressures, and he's going to be if we do address that middle interior next to Grady, that's only
Right,
going to make him better on the
right.
outside. And as far as pass rushing goes, it's not somebody like you don't want necessarily starting, but you'd like to have him in that rotation,
Oh yeah.
getting in there. Um, depending on, I mean, I thought Evans earned himself a spot back, depending on the contract, and what, like you said, what Nielsen may or may not think. Who knows? I mean, that was Dean P's boy, so with Dean gone,
That's
you never know.
right. A lot of
But
us like you bring up Carter, and there was a handful of us that like almost expected him to just be gone,
yeah,
because of the type of like linebacker play that Nielsen has been used to in New Orleans.
hmm
And now, granted, like I started watching, you know, more New Orleans film than I wanted to watch
yeah,
or have ever. I know it was. I had to use
gross.
like mouthwash afterwards. Uh, I thought about bleaching my eyes, but I figured I already can't see, so I might as well
Yeah,
not do
yeah,
that.
no. Take
But
your glasses off though, and it looks all fuzzy. At least you could do that.
but no, but the first game I watched, like I saw Demario Davis coming downhill a lot, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay, well that's something that Evans can do decently enough.
definitely better at than coverage. Yeah,
But then, like as I kept watching and kept diving and kept looking at it, I was like, okay, no, he can't. He's not Demario Davis. Like
no, no, no.
like they had Demario Davis on many times, like covering like the middle third, like
Yeah,
in
that's not
in
him. No.
right in like a Tampa two
Mm,
type situation, or like covering a tight end all the way down the field. And I'm like, that's not Evans. That's not what you want Evans doing.
yeah. No, I mean, I think, I mean, with Oliver too, man. Once he got fully healthy last year, because when he first came back, you could definitely tell he was not totally 100% on that knee yet, or at least that's what he, mentally. But once he was back, I mean, that game against, I think it was Arizona at the end of I mean, just ridiculous game. I mean, and
Yep,
he's that type of guy that 6'1", 210 pounds, he can float around, man. He can do different things in this defense. I mean, and he could be a guy that, you know, I mean, I was hoping he would turn out to be something, but just because of his versatility, But I mean, you got to bring him back, in my opinion, because that's the guy you could definitely use.
I think so. I think Isaiah Oliver is high on my list, which is
Mhm.
hilarious to think about
It is,
where he was like his first 2 years.
yeah.
Uh, like we were putting him on milk cartons
Oh yeah, yeah.
and like imposing his face on burnt toast.
Mhm.
Like he's not an outside guy. He's not an outside
No,
cornerback, but
nope.
playing him close to the line of scrimmage, in that nickel role, that's a guy who, like, I think it should be a high priority.
Me too. And like Nielsen said in his press conference, I mean, and we've talked about it on our show. I think you and I have talked about it before too. The everybody's gets caught up in what would are we running a 4-3 or 3-4? It really don't matter, dude. They're in that base about 25% of the
Yep.
time. So I mean, if so you're looking at the guys that are going to be in that nickel position, and that's going to be an important spot. So yeah, I mean, I'm all with it, man. And then, I mean, offensively, McGarry's obviously the one that stands out because of
Uh-huh.
obviously, is he going to be a franchise? Is he going to? I went back and forth in my head, dude. I mean, it's always a worry, the contract year, the guy stands out during his contract year. Is he, is this really him, or is this, just why is it taking him this long? And shout out to Dwayne Ledford and just in general with the job he's done with the offensive line, and because run blocking he was elite. Pass
Oh
blocking,
yeah.
obviously, he's still got a lot of work to do. I mean, like
He's
hand
yeah.
placement and speed rushes. He can't stop a speed rush to save his life. Hakeem Nicks did a speed rush on him
Thank
during that
you.
game.
Thank you. I was
350
gonna
pound dude just whoop.
yep, went right past you.
What
Went
are you
right
talking about,
past
dude?
you.
No, not even put
And
a hand on him. I was like,
like
what are you doing?
if you bring him back, it can't be for more than about 12, 13 a year.
Yeah.
And you gotta hope that you're able to mask it enough with guys with the play of being able to roll Ritter one way or the other. Like I will say this, McGarry got better, and there's a guy who I converse with quite a bit on Twitter who has the opinion that O lineman is like, they're like wine, they get better with age. And so I'm not ready to necessarily cast off McGarry, but yes, when I saw like 350-pound Akeem Nicks just blow right past him on a speed rush, I was like, you
Yeah.
got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like that's the one guy you should be able to get in front of.
Exactly. At
And
least
he
put a
just
hand on him. I
yeah,
mean,
he just
and
couldn't do it.
Brian Burns ate his lunch both games. I mean,
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't even a contest, So yeah, that's. I mean, it's great that we have and whether it's Ritter or whoever, we know in Arthur's offense we're going to have a quarterback that can move. Period.
Right.
So that's a plus. But if he's a righty, he's probably be rolling to his side. So I mean, like you don't necessarily want, you know what I mean, like him, on that side. But that's where he's at. So yeah, and it's not like you just go out and because it's do you go draft somebody, which is always a tough spot on a tackle position. Like
Yeah.
it's you look at Evan Neal, man, that guy was highly rated, obviously coming out of Alabama, and he had a rough season with the Giants. So you really don't know how it's going to translate. It's a different league, man. Obviously, when you're dealing with these pass rushers at the NFL, so unless it's just a guy that they are so comfortable with, and they're just like that is the guy, whether it's Skoronsky or whoever it might be. I mean, like that's their decision, but I'm not super hyped on putting a rookie there either. So
No, I'm not. Like
if you're gonna replace McGarry, it needs to be a veteran, a pretty solid veteran. I don't know that he may be the best option that's out there, to be honest with you. But it just comes down, like you said, to the money. I mean, it would kill me if he's franchised at like 18 or 19. That would hurt. You know what I mean? That would hurt.
I mean, okay. But if you're going to franchise him to see if he can do it again, this is the year to franchise him in a
Mhm.
sense of you have the money and
Yeah.
you have a ton of holes that you're not going to fill them all and become an instant contender next year. Like
Right.
not for like going all the way type deal.
Hmm.
I do think that you could get um potentially in the playoffs. We got plenty of time to talk about all that, but
Oh yeah.
as the off season wears on and we got months and months to talk about what we're going to be. But the idea that if you think, okay, I need to see it one more year before I'm really ready to sign them up, like this is the year to hand them a lot of money. I don't look at it the same way a lot of other people do. Because I had we got a commenter already, talking about like Ritter and his draft status and all this other stuff was the reason why he don't buy into him. But
Oh, we did
there's
a whole. We did. I don't mean to interrupt you. We did a whole show, Mike and I did a few weeks ago on a Saturday, and we went through the 2012 2018 drafts and just looked at quarterbacks. Just looked at
yeah,
quarterbacks and where they were taken. You cannot judge one thing about a quarterback. I don't care where they're taken. It doesn't
nope,
matter if it's the first round. It doesn't matter if it's the seventh round. That's the one position that what does not. I don't care what happens in college. I don't care how good you were in college. I don't care how bad you were in college. It may not translate to the NFL, man. It's just, when you get to the NFL as a quarterback, is how quickly can you diagnose what's going on in front of you? How quickly can you mentally assess how those defenses are going to change during the game, and how can you obviously the athleticism and can you make the throws? That's just the obvious part. You got to have the physical part, but the mental part, if it's not there, you're not going to succeed in the NFL, man. Just period. Like
yep.
it's a whole nother. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. It really doesn't.
It's
It's
for
a crapshoot.
yep for quarterbacks. It's more of how quickly can you get to processing.
Yeah.
How quickly can because the one thing that the NFL doesn't have is it doesn't or isn't willing to give is time.
Look, man,
That's
you had scouts pick Mitchell Trubisky to go before Pat Mahomes.
yep,
I mean,
exactly.
you had Lamar
Well,
Holmes. You
you
had
see
Lamar.
it every year. Like,
Yeah, you do every
if you
year. I mean, every year. Lamar Jackson went 32nd.
right.
I mean, you got Russell Wilson third round, and Dak
And then
Prescott in the fourth round, and
like
Brock
it
Purdy
depends.
last Mister. Like,
Right.
so I
Well,
mean,
it depends on like situation that you land in,
100%. Yeah,
like coaching staff, like supporting,
totally.
like
Yeah.
we may or may not ever actually see a fully generational Trevor Lawrence
Hmm.
who has all the talent in the world. Same thing with Justin Fields, who everybody wanted here. Like it just
Not with
depends
that
on
O
how.
line. Yeah.
Well, I'm about to say it just depends on how quickly they can get a real team around him. You know,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna address this real quick, and then we're gonna get back into free agency talk. It says, hey JR, did you ever look at Carl Brooks yet? The DN out of Bowling Green. I really hope to hear your thoughts because I am impressed. I am equally impressed. He was very impressive down at the Senior Bowl. Carl Brooks was very disruptive. I think they had him playing more at like a 3 tech. That's
Mm-hmm.
what he looks to profile more as, or maybe a DN in a 3-4 scheme. But he is he's a force, and he's a guy who I'm really interested to see as we're talking about like how does a game translate. I want to see uh, how his game is going to translate. But at the Senior Bowl, he was very disruptive and definitely caught my eye. And I want to dig a little deeper and see how he performed against the competition that he played against. So, but Carl Brooks is definitely a guy who's on my list.
I was going to say something too. Millie said something earlier in the show too. I forgot to mention. He said about the refs, like if they called everything and that, the game would go on forever. Man, he's 100%
yeah.
right. Because I mean, you know as well as I do, and we both look at a lot of film for like, especially if you're looking at linemen. I mean, you see penalties on damn near every snap.
Oh yeah.
So it's, I mean, this is
on offensive and defensive linemen, you could call holding every play, every play.
Yeah.
So, like you could, if the refs wanted to, they could sit there and just as soon as the ball snapped,
be a 6-hour game. Yep.
Like I love it, but you watch Jake Matthews,
mm-hmm.
and almost every snap, Jake Matthews leaves early
mm-hmm.
because he knows, and just like Lane Johnson, he knows they ain't gonna call him on all the time.
Yep.
So, he might as well. And, a lot of like there's 2 plays that you can pretty much guarantee an O lineman's going to get. It's a false start and a holding. And most of the time, those are called when it starts to get egregious.
Exactly.
And it's like, all right, look, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times, like, especially if you ever hear like a mic'd up of a ref at all, a lot of times, like, they spend a lot of the game warning the players.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're up too far. Hey, you're leaving too early. Hey, you're back up. They spend a lot of their game doing that.
If I see this one more time, I'm going to have to call it.
Right. And so when you get the flag, like the hold on Bradbury legitimately could have been because like that could have been a accumulation. I said that wrong. Accumulation of like 10 holds.
Sure.
And the ref could have warned him 100 times.
Yep.
And which is probably why you heard Bradbury go, yeah, I held him.
Yep. I mean, no doubt about it.
What are they supposed to do, right? In a sense, like they got to, you got to try to play it.
Exactly.
Got to try to play it. But so we agree Oliver needs to be brought back. We agree that we're kind of on the fence about McGarry. I'm not going to be upset if they bring McGarry back.
No,
unless it's a market setting deal.
Yeah, right.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's announced, he's reset the market for right tackles, then I'll be like, Terry,
yeah.
Put that playbook back into Mitroff's binder and put it back on the shelf because that's not the play.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you bring him back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on the contract. We'll say that. A lot of folks get caught up in. I think a lot of folks get caught up in defensive ends just solely with the pass rushing aspect of it,
right?
And they don't see the run game, the part that we're setting the edge is just as important in the NFL as it is. I mean, the pass rush is, to be honest with you, especially with the Arthur Smith and the Nielsen defense, who they want to stop the run. That's so important to Nielsen's defense. It wasn't in New Orleans. It's important for Arthur. So guys like that can do those things that don't show up on the stat sheet, it's going to be important to them. So I mean, and that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I mean, that's a very disciplined thing to do. You have to be knowing exactly where your body is. You know what I mean, and where the running back's going. How to have your hand placement on the tackle, where to push him, all that stuff's got to be. That's not something you just know off the bat. You watch. I mean, we're watching these. I know you are too. We're watching these edges now, doing our draft shows, and I mean that's one thing that those college edges. That's something most all of them have to work on. Because it's just not something that they're just used to doing or they're very good at doing. So, like I said, depends on the contract. I mean, I think coming into the season, his health was a concern because he'd never really been super healthy. But I mean, to play all 16 games, be consistent, Like I said, I wasn't expecting huge sacks number now because, like I said, it's a collective, right? I mean, our secondary was, other than AJ, it is what it was, kind of crap, and then we have our line other than Ebiketie, which had a good season. But like I said, if you bring up that entire defensive line, then everybody's numbers is going to be better. I mean, just period.
Yeah, I think had Taquan Graham not went out,
Yeah,
that defensive line changed dramatically
big time. Yeah.
when Graham went out, because with Graham in there, like, you couldn't solely focus on Grady.
Mm-mm.
And so that allowed Grady to heat up some. And then when Grady started heating up, then you do have to focus on Grady, which then opens up for, Ebiketie and, Carter.
Yeah.
I would bring Carter back. My only concern there is, like, then again, like, we can only base it off of what we know where Nielsen's coming from. I don't know if Carter really has the size
No, you're right.
that
Yeah.
that Nielsen is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he tends to like the edges that they had out in. I would imagine, like, you could swap Carter for, like, Catavia Street or Passignon.
Yeah.
As
Or
far as
even put him like, put him at a 7, let him stand up and you know
and
what I mean?
rush, yeah, right, and
Use
do
his
like a
speed,
wide 9.
Right, exactly. Something like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get that too. I'm not gonna pound the table for him, but I just think, if he comes back, I'm totally fine with it. You know what I mean?
Nick's talking about Davenport, and Davenport worries me big time. Like, he's never really had the production out.
Yeah.
Like, and via Spotrac, his market value is like 20-something million a year. And I'm just like, man, I don't know.
Have you seen? I would take Amanyata. Have you seen his?
Amanyata. Oh, you talking about? Oh, yeah. I'd take him. Yeah, I'd pair him next to Grady.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you put him with Grady and Taquan Graham. I'd take him, or even Shy Tuttle. Both of those guys are in the, like, market value of like $8 million.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the interior defensive line, it gets so underrated from everybody, because a lot of times you don't see the sack numbers from them, but if they're occupying multiple blockers, that just becomes a numbers game at that point. Then you're freeing up your ends, you're freeing up your linebackers, you're doing a lot of things that like you and just the fact, like you said, that Taquan was doing that. And Grady was getting that, that type of production, and you see Ebiketie getting that type of production too, and Taquan was in there.
Oh yeah.
So it's a like a domino effect for sure.
Fred tips us $2, which I appreciate. He says, "I think all the linebackers but Anderson and AK need to go." I mean, yeah, if you're considering AK a linebacker, probably more of a D end in this scheme. But Anderson is definitely your future. Nielsen seemed to be excited to be working with him. Mykal Walker is interesting. Like, he got demoted by the end of the year. But I'll say this, New Orleans ran a lot of 3 linebacker looks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, his numbers might come back up some.
Yeah, he had a tough season.
He did.
It was.
I'll agree with quadruple 7 here for one of the few times I'll agree with him. No, I'm just kidding. He says, Davenport is who I'd want on an incentive-based deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you better tie some stuff up into,
like, how many games can you play?
Right. How many games can you play? Like, how many tackles? I want incentives for everything. Tackles for loss, tackles for sacks, tackles for, like, incentives for, whatever.
100%.
Like, yeah, I'll pay you $20 million, but you're gonna have to earn every bit of it. So,
you do that from McGarry too. Every speed rush you let go by, you knocks off
you lose every block, bro. You get money taken away from you.
Yep.
Let's see. Millie says, but then again, Jr. Ryan was just working with what was there, so we really don't know what he wants for real. That's a concept that you have to remember. The same thing we did when Arthur got here. When you're promoting a position coach into a coach that now has more say over the guys that are brought in, such as a DC, you don't really know what his, like, true scheme is. Like, from what we understand, he was the one designing and calling pressures, like D-line pressures and blitz packages.
Yeah,
So
he's a D line whisperer. So yeah,
right, so he may have had more say, but you're right, we don't know. King says I think Nielsen puts 10 to 15 pounds on AK. Like according to the website, AK is like rocking at 240, and our good buddy Damsky on Twitter was trying to tell me that AK played like 255, closer to 260, and I'm like,
he don't look like that.
it don't look like he's carrying that much weight.
Mm-mm.
Now I trust Dansky in the fact that he knows more about defense than I do,
Yeah.
but he like from what my eyes see compared to other guys, he does not look like he's carrying that much weight. Now they may ask him to put it on,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see like if he does like can he still be an effective rusher?
Yeah, you don't want to take away what he's good at. You know,
No,
if that speed part of his game, but he's also got a lot of power for his frame too.
he does.
So
The one I'm really interested in is Malone, like D'Angelo
same here.
Malone, who didn't
Yeah.
get a lot of playing time and seems to be like a designated pass rusher. Like, does that change it? Does he go to more of a Sam linebacker kind of look, or is he asked to just come out there and rush the passer? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. It'd be interesting.
He's definitely not the size typically that you've seen Nielsen
No, he's
take at
like
that position.
230.
Yeah, he's
Like he
lightweight.
is tall and lean,
Mm-hmm.
but his his speed to power conversion is what like made everybody like really pop off. And I'll say this same thing with like had they kept Pease or had Pease stuck around, I could have seen Malone stepping into that Lorenzo Carter role,
Mm-hmm.
which where if you paid attention, Carter was dropping into coverage about as much as he was rushing.
Yeah.
So,
I like the motor Malone plays with too. Dude gets after it every time
oh
he's in
yeah,
there. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. He leaves it all on the field.
let's see. Hold on. Sipthal says, "What's going on, folks? I'm late to the party. Just had a second to log in. Definitely rewatch to catch up. We appreciate you rewatching. That's what's great about this platform is that if you miss it, you can just go back and watch it again.
100%.
And if you need to hear my voice again, that's
Sometimes I do that. I replay it during the week just so I can hear your voice.
there you
That's
go.
all.
See, that's
Yeah.
right. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't like to hear myself at all. Millie says Trey Wilson or Miles Murphy on the other side of AK. That's very well possible. Both those guys have the frame that Nielsen
Yeah,
seems to lean towards.
definitely.
So, but now we've talked about some of the guys like who we would keep, who we would bring back, kind of deal. Are there any like free agents out there that like you're really like pounding the table for? Obviously, right now, we don't know who is actually going to hit the market.
Right.
So a lot of this up until about a week before uh, free agency starts, like we're not going to have a real clear picture. So a lot of this is going to be speculation or guesstimation. So if there's a handful of guys out there that you really think the Falcons should go after, who are you eyeballing? Who is out of your Falcon mind eyeballing?
I mean, it's not going to be much different than some of the main two. I think everybody, Deron Payne, of course, he's the
Right.
ideal guy next to Jarrett. I mean, that's he's going to cost the most, but he's definitely the ideal candidate to have right there. Of course, Jesse Bates, I think, would allow Richie to do probably what he's more comfortable with, coming up into the box, playing more of that box safety, and because Jesse can go out there and cover the back third, he can cover wherever. He's a pretty impressive dude. Other than that, I mean, we talked about Omanyata. I mean, I wouldn't mind Bradbury. I wouldn't mind. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, the way he was hitting in that game in the Super Bowl. I mean, I'd take him. He can slide right
Yeah,
on.
and he's got familiarity with at least with Nielsen and Fontenot.
Yeah, for
But I
sure.
saw a report today that Philly's like very interested in keeping
I figured.
uh,
Yeah,
Gardner Johnson. But it's also going to be like, do they promote within with their DC? So do they keep like the same kind of schematic going forward? So it'll be interesting in that aspect.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
other guys. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, Sheldon Rankins. We've talked about that before with Alberto from 95 North Talk Show. Wouldn't mind him. Of quarterback wise, Brissett, Heineke, that type of person to come in. If we go with Ritter, I'm not going to talk about Lamar. We've talked about Lamar till I'm blue in the face, man.
Yeah,
But
I'm about to say
let's
with
let's do it.
today's
Did you hear about the news
announcement of
today?
them
Yeah.
hiring Todd Munkin and it being heavily reported that they're going to exclusive franchise tag him. I don't like I've been saying. I don't think Lamar makes it out of Baltimore, at least not this year.
Well,
He
if
may
he
have a Kirk Cousins trajectory, but I don't think he makes it out this year.
Yeah, and if we don't know this, but if they told him or they said in the press conference he was going to have a say in whoever the offensive coordinator was. So if he really did have any voice in this, that bodes well for them. But if they do exclusive tag him, which they probably will, then that allows them to negotiate with other teams. They could get really rich really fast. And I
Oh yeah,
saw that they projected Herbert getting close to 50 million a year in his new contract if he
oh
resigns.
yeah,
So,
and
I mean,
then
it's going
like
to get rich.
you know Hurts, Jalen Hurts is like reported to be probably around 50 mil a year. So I mean, I don't think it's the a year price for Jackson. I think he wants that fully guaranteed.
Right. Yeah.
He wants the Watson.
Yep.
So yeah. Uh yeah, you hit a lot of like the bigger names like and obviously I think like Deron Payne would be great. We got like you talked about Sheldon Rankins,
Mhm.
Chris bringing up
Another good
Dalvin
one. Yeah.
Tomlinson. If Payne's not available, uh I think Dalvin Tomlinson would be a fun, guy. I
Mhm.
really do expect to see now, especially with the cap situation that the Saints are in. I would expect one of the two defensive linemen.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Either Onyemata or Tuttle.
Mhm.
I would like Onyemata
Me too.
myself,
Me too.
but I wouldn't be mad at Tuttle because Tuttle is a true nose,
Mhm.
and that would allow Grady and Graham to play the Onyemata role,
Mhm.
uh, or the other DT, DN tackle role. Uh, I think right now, who hit it? Someone, okay, Billy Mills hit it. Jacoby Myers would be nice.
Yep.
Uh, we had a debate there for a while. You know, right now in this offseason, what's more important, wide receiver two or cornerback two? Because I'll say this when Kyle Pitts went down, even before we started Ritter the last 4 games,
Mhm.
because it took Ritter a little while to get acclimated to other guys besides force feeding Drake London.
Mhm.
I felt like he knew that that was an elite target that he could hit.
Yep.
But by the time you got to the Arizona Tampa Bay game, he was starting to feature uh, OZ a little bit more. So, but I would like an upgrade. Like I don't feel like
Big time.
OZ's a two.
No, he's a good slot 3, 4, I mean, reliable guy, good route runner, can get open when he needs to, find little holes in his own. And are we gonna see a little Bernhardt next year? Is he gonna because man, they had a great little connection there in the
They did in
preseason,
the
man.
preseason. Like I was kind of hoping that,
Me
especially the
too.
back end of that Tampa game,
Yeah, me
because I
too.
think he was active for that Tampa
He was
game.
active, yeah.
And so I was really kind of hoping that he was going to get there. You actually saw like Darby make a couple catches.
Yep.
So that was interesting there. GA Faithful's got a nice like DJ Chark.
DJ Shark, yeah.
But DJ, he's on the north side of 30, ain't he?
Yeah, he's a little injury too, I think. Doesn't he get a little
Right.
injury prone? Yeah.
Right
I mean,
now,
I like
like,
him, but
I like even the idea of Mecole Hardman, right? Like Mecole's been a little injury prone, but he's young.
whoever
You
it is
know,
is gonna have to be able to block. We know that.
whoever's coming in to be wide receiver two
Right.
is going to
That's what I
have to
mean.
block.
That's what I mean, yeah.
You know, like if you're bringing in like Mecole, you're bringing him in because you're wanting that deep threat.
Exactly.
You're wanting that somebody to keep the defense honest, which, you can say what you want to. Arthur is willing to take those shots.
Mhm.
Like the vast majority of his game is like, at least that we saw at times with,
Yeah, Marcus just
Mariota
couldn't
in
hit
there.
those shots.
Was that?
You just couldn't hit those shots.
Right. Well, you just couldn't hit them, but
Yeah, exactly.
like it was run, deep shot.
Yeah, exactly.
But now 7 brings up a good point. He says, I think Arthur would want Juju for his wide receiver. He has the size and the blocking. I agree there. And if you talk about blocking, Bubba's got a, he says Myers, Hartman, and then the last name, Lazard.
I was all about him until he said he wanted like 18 million a year.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I was like, no, dude, I'm not
But
doing it.
I mean, you saw what Christian Kirk last year get,
Yeah,
him and like Russell Gage even got like a $30 million
a bag.
contract
Yeah,
for.
he should have said a quarter of that to Matt because Matt got him paid, man. Matt got him paid.
So like if you had to prioritize one or the other, wide receiver 2 in free agency, would you be going to get wide receiver 2 or cornerback 2? Because
That's difficult, man. Because
do you think they bring back Casey Hayward for another season? Because he signed for 2 years.
yeah. I mean, probably because he hasn't been an injury-prone guy throughout his career. It was just a bad, the angle of that tackle that he made that hurt his shoulder. I mean, like, I wouldn't hate it. I don't want him to be like necessarily my guy there at CB2. And it's tough because the draft is deep at CB and it's pretty deep at wide receiver as far as getting somebody we can go with. So, I mean,
there was a couple guys down at the Senior Bowl that really caught my eye. The kid, Michael Wilson out of Stanford.
Stanford, yeah.
He looked real good.
He looks like Arthur Smith type of dude.
Right. Yeah,
Big
him
time.
and then Rasheed Rice out of SMU looked real good. And then the sneaky one that is on my list to go watch is the kid out of Ole Miss. Oh, what is his name?
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm blanking on that guy's name. But the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, like he had that body type.
He does.
That looked like you could do some.
I think
some damage there.
I mean, you gotta. They to me. I mean, and not to cop out, but I mean, like you gotta obviously address both of them because you can't have AJ by him doing what he did last year and just having this whoever last year whoever CB2 was getting thrown at.
Yeah, of course,
all the time. Because why would you not? But I mean. Yeah, you got to have both those because we can't ride with, like you said, we can't ride with the odds as 2 this year. And even with Kyle coming back, you still got to have that other threat there that can.
You've got to because you can't pigeonhole yourself. I'll say this: like I messed around. I caught Madden on sale. I'm not much of a Madden player, but I thought to myself, I was like, this could be a fun way to really get a look at formations, both offensive and defense, things like that. And I got to be funny. I thought to myself, I was like, all right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go here and force trades and like build the roster that I think the Falcons could easily come away with. And I tell you this, as wide receiver 2, opposite of Drake London and Kyle Pitts, Jacoby Myers is a force in Madden.
Oh yeah, that he is.
Let's see. Uncle Steve's Lounge says, "What's up, guys? I think you get wide receiver 2 in free agency. Keep Hayward for now, and draft a CB in a defensive-heavy draft. There's some guys who are definitely going to be there in round 2.
Oh yeah.
Like Forbes out of Mississippi State.
Yep.
Emmanuel Forbes will be there. There's some corners that there's a Kent State corner. What's that?
That kid from Texas A&M too. I can't remember his name, but he's pretty good size. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", 190. I can't remember his name, but yeah, there'll be some later round guys for sure.
There's a kid out of Kansas State, I believe. Is that the Wildcats? Kansas State. Joker at Senior Bowl was huge, and he was playing corner. Like that's a guy who should be there in like the 3rd round or whatever. Thank you, Faithful. It was Jonathan Mingo.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So, with that name. Darius Rush. Is it Darius Rush?
Oh, Cam Smith from South Carolina.
Yeah, Cam Smith. Well, there was another one at the Senior Bowl that cornerback that was playing really well. Bentz is the kid from Kansas State. See, do you see how smart these people are in our chat? Like this is like they keep me propped up. Now, Darius Rush. Yeah, I did have that name right. Now, something I'm thinking about doing. I'm going to mention this. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to see if my computer can handle it. But I thought about like doing a series like a Madden Monday series, and just get on here and y'all can see how bad I am at Madden, and we can chat. But I gotta see if my computer can live stream it. But even if I can't live stream it, uh, I'm curious if that'd be something that y'all would be interested in or not. Watching me play Madden with you know, the cobbled together team that I think the Falcons are going to do. I don't know. It's just an idea that I'm floating around with. Always like
It'd be
you can
fun.
attest to this, John. You're always trying to
Oh man, yeah. I think
like,
we're gonna do next season. I think we're gonna if same thing. If I can handle the same thing, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna live stream just sims of the games for that week.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna get on here and whoever wants to come on and talk, we'll do that and just have some
I
fun
thought
with it.
about I thought about doing, something similar.
Yeah.
Like I said, just trying to do things to have fun with.
Hmm.
Uh, but I kind of agree. Like he says, with Madden, it don't play like it's football game
Of course not.
because
No.
it's not. Right. There is a like that's always the part that I'm bad at with Madden is that I try to think of it too much like it's a football game, not like it's a video game. Right.
Hmm.
Like back in the day, and I ain't gonna, keep this long, but like, back in the day, me and my buddy would play, right? And we would play on the same team against the computer.
Right.
Uh that's just I'm more of a cooperative guy than I am a competitive guy. Uh but he would pick the same play on defense all the time. And it was some of y'all by the Madden players are gonna know what I'm talking about. And the play is called Thunder Smoke. It's
Yeah.
a all out blitz with
Yeah.
zone at the back end of it,
Yeah.
right? And like he would just spam that play, spam that. And I was like, dude, like especially after I got into football and
Hmm.
got to learning it, I was like, oh no, you've been running this play too much. You need to, they're going to start picking up on ten. No, they don't. It's a
No.
computer.
Yeah.
They don't pick up on tendencies.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's something I'm messing with, trying to see if it's like I said, if it's something my computer can actually handle, because there are times that it'll bug out on me just trying to do a mock draft while streaming. So I'm
Right.
not
Yeah.
100% sure. But uh so let's see. I'm trying to that's pretty much, yeah. We've just about hit it up. Really, let's see if the chat's got anything else fun to say. Let's see. Billy says, it works until you get burnt from a slant or a drag. He was talking about that. See, I knew somebody was going to know what I was talking about with that thunder smoke. Uh,
Mhm.
so yes, it does. But I was messing around. I done traded for Jacoby Myers, put Morgan Fox on the team, uh, running with New Orleans defensive scheme. Just trying to do what I could to simulate what I thought it might look like.
Mhm.
And I tell you, boy, AK is a force.
Oh yeah.
I got plenty of roughing the passer penalties though, because apparently even when the screen goes away from me, I'm
You
still
still hit
running
him.
at the
Yeah.
quarterback.
I do that all the
So
time. When I play my son, I do that all the time. I can't. I keep hitting the quarterback.
that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put them out. Who knows? All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us tonight. We have ran up over an hour. John, man, I appreciate you
Of
coming
course,
on and
brother.
chatting with me. Save the chat from listening to me ramble on for an hour by myself. So go ahead and plug all y'all stuff.
Yeah, man. So we'll, of course, you guys can follow us out of your effing mind on Twitter. Of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, out of your Falcon mind. Mike we put out a video today. It's the 10 stages of being a Falcons fan, and it is hysterical. Like I mean, if y'all have seen the show, you all know Mike. The personality is amazing. Just nobody like him. So yeah, he put that out. We put that out today. It's just, I mean, yeah, you just need to go watch it. It's about 6-7 minutes long, but worth every minute of it. I promise
Oh
you.
yeah,
You'll
yeah.
cry.
I definitely plan on. I was doing a lot of like show prep,
Oh yeah,
today.
yeah.
But yeah, like if it as soon as you said like Mike had a big hand in it, I was like, okay, yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, you got to.
Because
Yeah.
like you just know the energy that man's gonna bring, and
Oh,
it's
100%. Yeah,
It's awesome. Like,
it's amazing. Yeah, yeah. No, so but we'll be on tomorrow night actually at 7. So if anybody wants
okay,
to come
cool.
hang out with us, y'all can come hang out with us. We'll do similar. We'll talk Super Bowl. We'll have some Falcons talk going on as well as we always do, and then we're typically during the season we do a preview show for the game. We'll do a recap show. In the off season, we're normally running about one show, maybe two a week. Just depends on what comes up on the news cycle. You know, if we make a big trade or free agency signing. We'll do more toward the draft, of course. And every day,
Right.
or every other day, we're putting out these little short videos, 5 to 15 minutes long, on a couple of draft prospects that we go through. We kind of look at film and see what we think about it, if they're going to be a fit for us or not. So
There you go.
trying to bring more content, trying to get
That's
out there
it.
more every day. So.
That's the thing is like, that's the whole point is just trying to bring different perspectives. That's why I like having y'all on, like having some of the other, content creators on
Mhm.
because we like to try to bring different perspectives on and get different points of view.
Yeah, man.
If
Like I
y'all,
said,
if you,
man, like we said before, we got an awesome community we can pull from. So
That's it. Yeah, exactly. We got a lot of great fans, a lot of smart fans. I mean, Tony Wright. I don't know if he jumps in y'all show or not, but Tony Wright has a
you
plan
should,
for
Tony. Come on
everything.
over.
He's like Tony has a plan for free agency. He has a plan for draft, and I love like just reading Tony's comments because they're smart and well thought out. So I may not always highlight them, but Tony Wright is a joy to have in the chat. So anyway, Falcons fans, y'all can as always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128, and you can follow Jonathan. My normal co-host. He's at Jonathan M Holder. Those are rolling across the bottom. I put y'all's on there, but apparently I didn't hit save.
It's
So
all good, man.
yeah, I
It's all good.
apologize for that. But anyway, as Falcons, just keep your eye on the channel. Me and Jonathan will be jumping into like deeper dives into free agency fits. We're going to do like up until free agency, we're going to do like highlight pretty much each position group, starting with the O line. And we'll be doing that on Friday. So just keep your eye on the channel there, and we'll be back Tuesday with another live stream. As always, Falcons fans, rise up.